Continuing on with some additional common problems when it comes to storage, if you find that you cannot access a logical drive, again, the mount point or the drive letter, this certainly typically does indicate a disk failure. That's obviously one of the most common reasons. The entire disk itself has failed. And with that, you really only have one choice, is to replace the disk. Diagnostic utilities certainly aren't going to repair anything if it's a hardware level failure and the entire hard drive has gone down. Data corruption, of course, is more at the software level and typically a result of corrupt sectors, usually caused by a faulty save operation, any kind of a bug, or of course the disk failure itself still can cause that. But corrupt sectors is usually something that you can recover from. Things like the check disk utility in Windows, in fact, can locate corrupt sectors and move data off of them to other locations of the disk. But if you are continually getting corrupt sectors, then it's indicative of an actual problem with the hard drive itself in most cases. The slow I/O performance. With that, you definitely want to use a tool such as Performance Monitor to diagnose. The Windows Performance Monitor has a number of counters that you can use to measure what the actual read-write performance of the hard disk is. Now, what you generally have to bear in mind is what kind of other operations might be going on at the same time, or at least when you're trying to run down that performance issue. In other words, is it something that continually happens all day long, or is it something that only happens at a particular point in time? And if that's the case, then you want to try to locate something else that's running at the same time, such as a backup or a virus scan. That's usually, of course, not really a problem with the disk. It's just too many applications accessing the disk at the same time. Maybe it's a large database import or export as well, things like that. So knowing when the I/O performance issue is happening is as useful in a lot of cases as knowing what the actual problem is. A restore failure of a backup operation also might be indicative of some of the problems, because if you do successfully create a backup, but then it cannot restore from that backup, then there were still some read failures and or write failures when it's trying to restore. So these are things that you might encounter if you are still having some issues with your disks. Cache failure. Caches can result in a disabled RAID array. Virtually every RAID controller card these days has cache built right into the card. So with that, you're going to get reduced performance, obviously, and the controller itself will likely need to be replaced. And cache, again, is just memory. There's no moving parts in there. So if it fails, it's pretty much replaced the whole thing. Multiple drive failure. If you do encounter this, it usually is indicative of all of the disks being from the same manufacturing run. So there was some kind of an issue when they created that particular lot, and they all have the same problems. So if you find that they're subjected to similar load and usage, then you're probably going to be encountering the same issues with all of those disks. So it's a good idea to have, of course, multiple replacements on hand. Now, obviously, this needs to be tempered with the cost of replacing the disks and how many you're looking at. But multiple drive failure obviously can cause a lot of problems and can be costly if you are looking at replacing several of them at the same time. But really, you don't have much of a choice. There's virtually nothing you can do with respect to repair at a hardware level. Certain utilities can obviously allow you to bypass bad sectors and things like that, but there's very little you can do in terms of repairing at the physical level a hard drive. So it's usually just a matter of replacing the disks. So the more you can have on hand, certainly the better.